listening to the DIXON Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. So far, nobody has hit me with an electromagnetic device. Nope. We're not even wearing tinfoil hats this hour here on the X Zone. Strange things do happen, and, fact is stranger than fiction sometimes, but there are other times when you just have to realize that it's time to play Another One Bites the Dust, right? Well, Exo Nation, this hour I'm going to be talking to Jeff Stewart DIXON. He's the founder and creator of Blue Collar Enlightenment, a nuts and bolts spiritual awakening path for us regular folks. He is the author of 21 Days, a guide for spiritual beginners, an account of the spiritually awakened state amidst normal life circumstances, and he is the meditation editor of the popular blog All Things Healing. For most of his adult life, Jeff pursued spiritual awakening, wholeness, and happiness in the non-dual Zen and other traditions with teachers such as Andrew Cohen, Eckhart Tolle, and Sanyal Bonder. His search ended in 2010, and he now teaches his Blue Collar Enlightenment online courses accessible to the whole world 4 times a year. Joining me now from Charlottesville, Virginia, is Jeff Stewart. And Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Rob. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, thanks. Tell me, what was it in your life that led you to this path that you're on to help people understand that there's more to life than just being born and dying?
Right. Well, I think like many listeners of and fans of X Zone, I came into this because of a feeling of unfulfillment, of lack. And this was when I was about 18 or 19 and in college. And I had that question. There's got to be more to this. And so it started there, and it over the years, through experiences and through teachers and teachings, it grew into really a type of deep separation and a sense of what I call existential depression. So it was more of a dark shadow, more of a dark night of the soul type of feeling that led me into being with, sitting, following these types of teachers and teachings, and I'm very glad that I did.
So tell me, what does the experience of Blue Collar Enlightenment feel like?
That really gets right to that question gets right to the heart and to the core of what one should ask when one is involved with these types of teachings. A lot of times that will get shoved under the rug, that kind of question.
Right.
What does it feel like? What are the, in other words, if I join this school, if I enter your college, what is going to be the graduate degree that I'm going to receive? And the way that I describe it, my working descriptions are divided into 2 parts. There's a day-to-day operational quality of Blue Collar Enlightenment. And let me also be clear about where that phrase comes from. I'm sort of in the wave of teachers who are in America right now that call what they teach spiritual awakening, and it comes in the form of non-duality and Advaita Vedanta. So to set the sort of stage for those who might be listening who are familiar with those types of teachings. So the operational quality is this connection to awareness or to consciousness or to self that is ongoing, permanent, and confidently forward in your experience from moment to moment. And this is really the marriage part of blue-collar enlightenment, this sense of peace, this sense of equanimity, this sense of being a calm center in a hurricane. And it's quite a gift, and it's quite amazing. And it for me was the thing that ended the existential depression, that ended the separation. The other quality is what I call a peak experience quality, and it comes and goes. This particular quality of blue-collar enlightenment has all of the bells and whistles that one hears about in traditional enlightenment schools. And this is a deep bodily relaxation, a sense of peace, a sense of bliss even. When I'm in this state, my peripheral vision expands, and there's a dropping into the body where you feel all of the areas of the body that were before you weren't completely aware of. Your toes, your knees. I often describe it at the peak experience. It's like taking a sip of wine or beer without the side effects. If everyone can relate to that experience where you have a little bit of wine and then, oh, there's my legs again. And you really start to feel your whole body. The peak experience is very similar to that, except that there's no side effects from the alcohol, of course. So, yeah, I mean, the qualities of blue-collar enlightenment are they basically call out to those who have arrived to a point in their spirituality where they are hurting, and they are done with this sense of lack and this sense of really this gnawing sense that is there something more. And so I found that it took a while, but I found the answer that I was looking for, this fulfillment to be with these particular two qualities. So I hope that answers the question there for you.
Tell me, why do you think in today's society, in such a fast-paced technological society, spirituality and self-awareness is gaining so much strength, and more people are seeking it?
Oh, it's great. That's a great question. Well, I think that it's picking up momentum. A large part of it is due to the mindfulness-based stress reduction movement that's happening in the West. Right now in America, there are something like 250 colleges and universities that have mindfulness centers. And this mindfulness does have its roots in Zen. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who founded mindfulness-based stress reduction, is sort of considered the father of it, was a fan of Zen, was a fan of spiritual awakening, was a fan essentially of what I'm talking about with what I teach with blue-collar enlightenment. And so he took a section of it called mindfulness and combined it with neuroscience, combined it with modern technology, with technology like MRIs and CAT scans, etc., to actually do research to say that, there is something to this. There is something to awareness that is fundamental, it's real, and it's profound, and can provide a whole level of health for individuals. And because of this is one of the reasons I think that it's proliferated, Rob, is that it has gone from just being on the peripheral alternative religion, quasi strange and spiritual, to something that a congressman from Ohio, such as Tim Ryan, or a newscaster, I think that I forget the guy's name, but he's ABC or CBS, was quite vocal about mindfulness. So, I mean, I think that's part of the reason that it's proliferated. Now, when I'm talking about mindfulness, I want to be very clear here that mindfulness is really just one part of the spectrum of spiritual awakening or blue collar enlightenment. Does that answer your question, Rob?
Yeah, it does. But let me ask you, do psychic, metaphysical, or unusual phenomena such as ghosts, UFOs, angels, auras, or out-of-body experiences play a part in the blue collar enlightenment?
I think they do. They did for me. I'm a big fan of the Monroe Institute, which is in Faber, Virginia, about an hour from here. And I met Robert Monroe. And for those who are listening, Robert Monroe is probably considered the father of out-of-body experiences in the West. He has a great book. It's called Journeys Out of the Body. And this is how my quest began. Is there something to this? Is there something to ghosts, to paranormal activity, to angels, to heaven, to a soul that is separate from the body? And I went about investigating it, and I utilized Robert Monroe's techniques and work to answer this big question, and I gained proof. I did. I myself had numerous out-of-body experiences, and it proved to me that absolutely there is something to spirituality. Now, today, for me, relative to spiritual awakening and blue-collar enlightenment, a lot of those questions about UFOs and psychic phenomena and ghosts and out-of-body experiences have relaxed. I guess that'd be the best way to put it. I'm not. That isn't my sole modus operandi. I find those things interesting. And I watch plenty of History Channel shows about UFOs myself, and I think it's very intriguing and fascinating. But for me today, it doesn't play a huge part of the role. It plays no role in my teaching work,
right?
But it does play a role relative to the whole spectrum of evolution in spirituality, where you knock on these doors and say, hey, is there something to this? And hopefully there's enough resources in the West, in the world today, that we can say, yes, I think there is, and then this leads to greater and more fulfillment.
Why did you call your program Blue Collar Enlightenment?
That was a way of knocking the term enlightenment down a notch or two. I think the 21st century has in general redefined enlightenment. I think that what evolution is offering to the West and to the world today, relative to spiritual awakening, is something that is attainable by your Joe average person on the street, your Joe average blue collar, white collar, regular working individuals. So this is where that name partially comes from. It's a reference to the fact that you don't have to be a yogi or a mystic or a guru or a priest of some sort in order to attain enlightenment, in order to attain spiritual awakening. The other side of the definition of blue collar enlightenment points to the process that one goes through to attain it. In other words, it's not rocket science. You don't have to have a PhD in order to understand this stuff. You don't need to have superhuman powers of 8-hour meditation and do super yogic poses.
Right.
The process of attaining blue-collar enlightenment is a blue-collar one. There's a little bit of work, but it's not super extravagant. Really, it's more or less a slow, step-by-step process that if you have courage and you have integrity and you follow your heart thoroughly, then it works. But it does not have a requirement today. Today's enlightenment, evolution today, is saying all are welcome. All have a birthright to this, to our natural state. All have a birthright to finding something amazing about being a human being that has heretofore in history been exclusive to a tiny, tiny, tiny few. And do a search online right now of awakened teachers, of spiritual awakening, non-duality. There are many, 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 many teachers, even more so than a decade ago, hundreds of books. And so I think it's quite a phenomenon. And when I myself think about the New Age, 2012, and this kind of culmination of a hot point in the evolution of humanity, I look at how many people are waking up, and I see that as evidence of it.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Jeff Stewart DIXON, www.bluecollar-enlightenment.com. How hard or difficult was blue-collar enlightenment to attain?
It was not easy. I don't paint a picture that you get involved in these matters and 6 months later you're going to wake up. That's not the truth. Everybody's different. It took me quite some time. It took me close to 2 decades. So no, it's not easy. You're essentially confronting and dismantling the whole system of your identity. You're dismantling ego, essentially.
Right.
And this is a painful process. Anybody who's done any therapeutic work, who has done any type of work where you need to stop and really readjust how you're thinking, how you're behaving, how you're emoting, that it's not easy to do. It's not easy to take a look inside.
Right.
It is not. And so this is spiritual awakening and blue collar enlightenment is the uber mega taking a look inside. It's taking a look all the way down into the deepest part of our being. And in doing so, you meet all sorts of fear. You meet all sorts of blocks and resistance and knots. And I had many, I suffered from existential depression and periods of just heightened anxiety and fear for years that just really, really, really rocked me. The only thing that got me through those, Rob, was that I knew that this was part of the process. So I could view these instances objectively. I feel very compassionate for people who go through this type of thing and don't have a reference.
So tell me, how has your life changed as a result of blue-collar enlightenment?
Well, you ask my wife and my son, and they will, A, they'll roll their eyes, and B, my wife will concede to the fact that I don't. One of the biggest things that if you know me intimately, if you knew me throughout this whole process, my anger levels have all but dropped out. I had an angry emotional point that would rise up and I'd break things. So that's one instance of it drastically dropped off. Not to say that I still don't get angry. If my dog gets, off on its leash and runs out in the middle of the night and I have to go chasing her through the neighborhood, I'm still going to get mad. So that's a tiny little sort of surface level quality and change. For me, the biggest change was that I was longing for happiness, just plain and simple happiness as a human being. And so in 2010, when I passed through the last little doorway into spiritual awakening, there it was. There was this happiness. There was this sense of peace. And existential depression was gone. The anxiety was gone, and it has not returned. So that's a considerable weight to have dropped off. Sure. And so how has my life changed? Absolutely, completely, dramatically.
How does one realistically attain blue-collar enlightenment then?
Well, I'm going to be biased here, and of course, tell you the way that the particulars of how I teach it. So, one realistically attains blue-collar enlightenment by first investigating awareness, by what's called, as we've already mentioned, investigating mindfulness. There's another term for this, Rob. It's also called self-inquiry. If you have a Christian background, there's something in Christianity called centering. All of these techniques, all of these approaches are essentially about noticing awareness. In other words, and this is for everybody who's listening, if you take a moment to feel into the parts that make up who you are, there's a type of emptiness, a type of awareness that, to start off with, is behind the eyes and in the head region. And if you pay attention to the words that are being spoken right now, and if you take a look around the room and have a sense, you will notice that this awareness is taking all of this in. It is seeing. It is the one that is seeing, that is experiencing, that is hearing. Now, I'm not saying that this is so you're going to immediately notice this right now, but this is the muscle that is trained to recognize that there is that there is this emptiness, there is this awareness, there is this consciousness that we take everything in with. And the realistic approach starts here. The way that I approach it is there are numerous exercises that one can do that have to do with relaxation, with visualization, with meeting and seeing and accepting and exploring all the parts of us that we tend to forget. Our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, etc. So that's how it starts. I could go on. Do you want to?
Well, let's go on after this news break. Exo Nation, my guest this hour is Jeff Stewart Dixon, www.bluecollar-enlightenment.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the X Zone 724 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the DIXON Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. Call him Reef. Reef is your host. Reef is your guide. Are you happy? Happiness is like trying to find water in the desert. Can you find any? Sometimes, sure, but only a few drops. God is an ocean of joy, but God is not cheap. You cannot find God in a chemical. You must attract God's attention. How? Not by living to please your senses. That is false ego. The Matrix is not real. It is a computer-enhanced hallucination. You are spirit soul, not the body. We have forgotten how splendid our home really is, the spiritual sky. For more information, visit rishasongofblue.com. That's www.reshasongofblue.com. What if Jesus came back now and insisted that we listen to him? How would the world be different if Christians really followed the Gospels? For 2,000 years, we've been practicing a religion. Now it's finally time to get it right. Read Liberating Jesus, new from Roberta Grimes. Meet the Jesus you never knew. Roberta uses afterlife evidence and biblical analysis to prove that Jesus is exactly right. Learning the lessons that he came to teach is the reason we are born at all. Roberta says he has come back now to insist that we actually listen to him so we can begin to use his teachings to unite and transform the world. Liberating Jesus wherever books are sold. Jesus has the answers, and it's not too late. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Jeff Stewart Dixon is our special guest this hour. His website is www.bluecollar-enlightenment.com. And Jeff, great having you on the show, filled with good information here. With all the world seemingly to be in a total upheaval, things going wrong all the time, the aspect of war going on all the time, friends turning into enemies. Enemies, well, they're just getting worse than anything. The political unrest, the massive amount of EMFs that everyone is being inundated with, mistrust, financial gain, deceit, corruption. How does one cope with it?
The only way to cope with it, which is to heal thyself first. Mm-hmm. I know that that questions about the imperfections of this world come to all of us, of course, and awakening does not make you immune to the strife and to the tribulation and to the suffering that's happening here. It does not. However, there's also, with this type of teaching, with blue-collar enlightenment, with spiritual awakening, there comes the recognition that ultimately we are all completely responsible, that we are all have the responsibility for our own souls, for our own hearts, and for our connection to Source. And if anyone comes to me in the work that I do and has that burden on their shoulders, where they're overwhelmed by the evening news, there's first and foremost, there's compassion, of course. Mm-hmm. I feel that too. The world in chaos, and it's overwhelming at times. However, because we're limited human beings in some respects.
Yes,
we have to be realistic about how can we, are we going to save the world? I think saving the world starts with saving yourself first. So be a light, be that which you want the world to be, and then slowly but surely, I think that the world will indeed change.
So basically, what you're saying is, to thine own self be true, and everything else will fall into place.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Rob.
Gotcha. So when somebody takes one of your courses, your online courses, what do they learn?
They learn quite a bit.
Such as?
First thing they learn is to be honest, and to be completely, utterly honest with themselves, honest why they are, what they're up to, and what it is that they want out of such a course. And then this leads into investigating, as I said before, awareness and consciousness. And then we take a look at ego and the mind and what the personality is wanting out of all of this, and we investigate and we see its limitations. And then there's a part of this work which has to do with the energy of a group, or the energy of a teacher or a teaching, and vulnerability, where you pick up on the let's use a common New Age term, on the higher frequency of what is happening with the teacher and with the students and with the class, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're vulnerable, if you allow yourself, you can pick up on that yourself. And then also in this course, there's a healthy amount of investigating the body and the body's health and the heart. And then the last two parts of it are about giving oneself permission and having the resolve to go through this. And then one of the bigger elements that I teach is this idea of positive crisis. We're talking about a class and a course and a process which is dismantling, which takes apart. And so inevitably there's a crisis involved in some of this. But if we can see this crisis as being something positive.
Let me just
yes, sure.
Let me just stop you here, because I have a question.
Absolutely.
How can you do this online?
That is a really good question.
like you don't know how many people are partaking in this online course. You don't know you don't know who you're spilling your heart out to.
Yeah. Right.
Like, how does this work?
That's a really good question. Well, so we use video and we get to know each other slowly.
Yeah.
There's a whole process that I do with individuals who come into it where you get to know what the course is about, and you get comfortable with your peers, in other words, so that when you finally arrive to and there are 12 people in the current course right now. You through email, through video, through commenting and chats, you've gotten to know each other a little bit.
Right.
And we all have a lot in common. And so how do you do this in a course? I'll be quite frank with you. Some of the parts of it, I don't even know how it works. How is it that we're all able to meet in cyberspace and yet feel the energy of a group? And how is it that that's passing through, wires from one end of the continent to the other, or from one country to another? I have no idea, but it does work. It absolutely works, and it's pretty amazing. It's not without its flaws, just like your radio show probably has, hiccups in communicating the good work that you're communicating. But I have found that, right in the course, like right now, there are some people that are just having some amazing insights and aha moments and transformation. And we're doing this whole thing online with, one of my friends, I'll quote him, has one of my favorite quotes about the internet is that it's often a Lamborghini that delivers a Twinkie. And I can say for sure that this is not my course, the Blue Collar Enlightenment course, and shows like the X Zone are not the Twinkie part of the internet. So, hopefully that answers your question there, Rob.
So how many students do you have? What's your max course size?
There is no max course size. To date, most of the courses have been around 12 to 15.
And how long are these courses?
8 weeks.
How many times a week?
We meet in the webinar once a week, and then there are videos that are watched. Then usually per week there's about 2 hours worth of videos that are divided up into 10, 15-minute chunks.
So prior to you doing the Blue Collar Enlightenment, had you had any teaching experience?
Yeah, I mean, the whole online course developed out of my live teaching work here in Charlottesville. I taught in my neighborhood. There's a little church, Peace Lutheran Church, and I taught there for a couple of years to folks here in Charlottesville. So a lot of my work comes out of that.
So is your background in teaching?
It's not. My background, I have a degree in audio-video engineer. I have a very blue-collar degree. I have a degree in communications from Syracuse University.
Right.
So one of the things that I'm particularly, and in other words, what I want to say here is that I've taken my degree, which is not a conventional therapeutic degree or teaching degree, and I think that I have bent it to the work of Blue Collar Enlightenment in the sense that my communications degree was very, what I learned how to do was take apart systems and to see them clearly, and then to communicate them, to write about them, to convey them. And so this is what I learned at Syracuse University, and that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing with this work. Is I've developed a system. I have taken the spiritual awakening path apart, and I'm redelivering it in a fashion that is quite new over the internet.
So are you saying that? Well, hold on here. It's not that quite new, because I have a good friend of mine who has a shaman course that she does the same thing with. So I don't understand how that is so new. And I know several people who have been doing these online courses for years. So
right.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When somebody graduates from your course, what have they gained? From what I've seen and from what I've experienced, I'm not going to say that everybody who graduates my course, they're awakened. Right. But what happens is this: there's a deep understanding of who they are, both the positive sides of who they are and the sides of who they are that are holding them back. And many go through this course afterwards having experienced openings that may last a day, a week, or afterwards longer than that are experiences of freedom, experiences of lightness, experiences of just absolute consciousness. And I think those are the building blocks for then going on to living an entire life that is free. So this is what I've been reported back. So are you suggesting, or am I understanding that your course is totally apart from the established religious philosophies, and that this is a new way of doing things? No, I wouldn't say that. My background is in Advaita, non-duality, and Zen, and so I incorporate a lot of that. I don't use the exact same terminology, but absolutely. I mean, the teachers that I studied with are from those backgrounds, so I do have a tradition that I come from. It's more or less that I've killed the Buddha in the road. How should I put it? That's a very old saying, which says that, if you're seeking enlightenment, that don't displace it all on the teacher. And so, I'm happy to acknowledge those particular schools, but I'd also, as an independent teacher and one who's awake, I don't feel the absolute necessity to use all of their terminology and to advertise that. So let me ask you again, does what you teach, is that more modern than the established religious philosophies that seem to be falling on the wayside? I would say so, yes. Why do you think that is happening? Why are the old philosophies, the tried and true, falling away the side, and this New Age philosophy is coming in stronger?
Well, I think that the New Age philosophy is hitting closer to the truth. To be quite blunt, I think that I was just writing something. Here's a good analogy, Rob.
Okay.
I was writing the introduction to a new book, and and it goes something like this. In 1991, everyone, if you're of a certain age, Nirvana, the band, came along. And in one fell swoop, it's the song that they had out, Smells Like Teen Spirit, all but knocked out the reigning kings of rock and roll at the time, which were metal hair bands like Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, etc.
Yeah, you see, I was never into heavy metal, so none of those names mean anything to me.
That's all right. So what I'm saying is, this whole wave came through, because you're asking me, why is the New Age?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. Why is it knocking out the old schools?
Right. Yeah.
Just like this band came along and knocked out the metal hair bands, they were closer to the truth. They were speaking. There was somehow more grounded. There was something more real about them, more authentic about them. And I think that's what people are sensing. They're sensing that with this type of in the New Age, right, in spirituality, there's something more true to it, because almost all of the New Age is asking the individual to experience it for him or herself.
Experience what?
Experience whatever it is that you are looking for. If you are seeking some sort of fulfillment, some sort of mystical state, then find this out for yourself.
But what about the person who just wants to find whatever religion gives them? What would they find that is so different with this New Age compared to the old tried and true Catholicism, Protestant, Hebrew, whatever?
Well, I think anybody who is jumping ship from Catholicism or Judaism into New Age spirituality or spiritual awakening is jumping ship for a reason. They're looking for something that their other religion is not offering them.
Well, don't you agree that throughout one's life, one will jump ship many times until they find a religion that they feel most comfortable with, the religion that meets their specific needs?
Absolutely. Yeah, they do. I did. I know for sure that I did.
Sure. So why do you think with the New Age that those who jump ship from the established philosophies will stay with the New Age philosophies?
I don't know that they will, Rob. I can't predict that. It really is. If someone if you're hinting at could someone jump back, or could they go beyond?
Oh no. I'm not hinting at anything, because I don't hit. I just come out and ask.
Yeah, sure.
Because the New Age genre seems to come and go. There seems to be no consistency, no staying, except when you look at the tried and true, whether it's a religious philosophy like Judaism or Christianity or Catholicism, to what I consider the tried and true oldies such as shamanism, Buddhism. They stay because the times remain all the same. Cluttered, disarrayed. Everybody's looking for peace. Everybody wants to hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and roast marshmallows around the fire. This is how I see it. So what does the New Age have that is so different from the tried and true established philosophies that would make a person stay?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah, that's all I can ask you.
Yeah, and for me, it began, my whole path was a path of looking for, having questions and looking for the answers and then receiving them in very tangible, experiential way.
Right.
And this started with, as I spoke with Robert Monroe, or is there a soul? Is there something more to being a human being? Yes, there is.
But isn't that what religion teaches you about a soul, about being a good human being?
Well, I think for me, in the instance of Robert Monroe, because I went to an Episcopalian private school and left pretty much an agnostic/atheist.
Right.
And so what the New Age offered to me was, you don't need to believe it anymore. Let's have you experience it, prove it to yourself. So you're correct. That is seemingly what religions offer. But for someone like me, I was much more skeptical than and was on fire. So I was like, nah, that isn't good enough. I don't want you to point to a book and tell me that, God or angels exist. And, I want some proof here. So this is what the New Age, in particular, what Robert Monroe offered to me and made it possible then for me to go on a greater journey of self-discovery.
You know what? Time's gone by so fast. I want to thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. Continued success in DIXON Nation. If you would like to find out more about Jeff Stewart DIXON, visit him online at www.bluecollarenlightenment.com. That's bluecollar-enlightenment.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues, right here from our broadcast station in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Thanks, Craig. You just scared the bejesus out of me. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, 800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. Our website, xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back after this break. Don't go away.